I'm in the process of getting to the cam chain on the Mercedes C180 compressor chassis W203. So far everything's going very smoothly. You remove the top cover, it just clips into these four little sockets here on the top here. That comes off quite easy. Same for the front cover here. That just has got some rubber bungs, just holds it into these little lifting eyes here. That comes off easy. And then I've just proceeded to remove a couple of the vacuum hoses, and I've pulled out the coil pack for number one down here. Unplugged all of the coil pack connections. I loosened off a torque screw down in here which holds the loom in place, just to give it a bit of movement upwards, because I'm going to have to lift this up a little bit. It doesn't come off, just lift it up a little bit so I can pull the valve cover up and out from underneath that loom. So far I've only been, I guess it's only taken me about an hour or so far. It's been fairly straightforward. I would say in another hour I should have the whole thing off and exposing the chain. I'm expecting the chain to be fairly sloppy. I've got a new kit to replace the cam chain and the all of the gear in there, tensioner and the guides, etc. We'll see what the condition of the cam sprockets are when we remove this cover. We'll soon see that, and I'll show that to you once I get to that stage. It's easier for me to just do this in a couple of short videos at this stage. You have to remove, of course, the front intake. That just clips here into the intake box, so that's fairly easy to remove. I haven't worried too much about labeling things really at this stage, because it's pretty obvious where everything's going to clip back into. They can only really go into one position the way that they are running, and the length of the sections of the loom. So I don't expect any problems there. I have got a couple of photographs in case I get lost, but I'm not expecting any problems there. And I'm going to continue. I am resting a little bit with the tensioner side of things, which I'm of course going to replace. To get to the tension on this, it's going to be a bit of a bear. From what I gather, the only way to do that, I've got to get the alternator off, because the tensioner goes in behind the alternator into the side of the block. So to get the alternator off, I've got to remove the serpentine belt, take the tension off it anyway, and because the alternator is just fixed onto the side of the block by 4 bolts. I think I might have to lift the car a little bit in the front to get underneath and get the cover off under there, so I can get the bottom bolts off the alternator. So we'll see how we go on there. There's no other way of doing it. You have to take the alternator off to get the tensioner out. And to get further down, to get to the crankshaft pulley to turn the engine over, you really have to take this box off down here. A bit hard to see on the video, but there's a big box there. I believe it's like the intercooler for the intake for the supercharger. Supercharger, of course, is sitting just there. Goes back into this area here. It's the intake box for it. So yeah, just the order of things. So what I'm thinking of at this stage, to save me having to take that intercooler off, I'm hoping that once I've got the plugs out, the engine won't be too hard to turn over, and I'm just going to turn it over by just turning the power steering pump, keeping the belt on. But just just because I'm going to be turning it very, very slowly as I pull through the new cam chain. I've got the Mercedes riveting and chain braking tool, etc. That's all here now, so I've got all the tools to do a decent job on this. So that's what I'm hoping to do. If I can actually turn the engine easily enough on this pulley here, then I'm not going to have to take that box off down there at all, because I don't have to take the box off to take the tension off the serpentine belt to get the alternator off. So that's what I'm hoping to do. I'll let you know how that goes. It'll be a bit different from how most people do it. They get a breaker bar down on the crankshaft pulley, down on the harmonic balancer, and turn the engine over from there. But I'm not expecting the engine to be that hard to turn over with the plugs out. As I say, I'm only going to be turning it over, very slowly as I pull the cam chain through. Now, doing this as a one-man operation, I'm going to fashion up a structure that goes across this part here that sits on top of the cam chain. I'm going to feed the cam chain in from this side here over the top of the sprockets and then down into the gear, the sprocket on the bottom of the crankshaft. And if I can keep the tension, keep the chain from lifting up off the sprockets with a bar going across here, which I've seen some pictures of on the turbocharged ones where they do it on the rear sprockets, I should be fine. So I'll document that as well, because doing the job on my own is really, that's only my option at this stage. Otherwise I've got to get somebody to come over and sort of hold the chain down onto the sprocket so it doesn't ride up as I turn the engine over. So thank you for having an interest in the Mercedes-Benz C180. This is a very common problem with this engine, the 271, the M271 engine. Unfortunately, it's a really nice engine. It runs beautifully. My symptoms aren't horrible. On startup, I get the cam chain rattle for a moment, then it goes away. If I have the engine running for a little while, I shut it down and then restart it straight away. There's no noise at all. So the tension at that stage has got oil pressure behind it and keeping good tension on the chain. It's done 180,000 Ks. It's been pampered for its whole life, and it's had all of the regular oil changes with the highest quality oil. So I'm not expecting the sprockets to be in any bad shape. But I'm doing this because I don't want to have problems with this cam chain destroying the engine and and also the sprockets on the cams. And the kit is very reasonable, and I have the time, and I believe I've got the knowledge to be able to do a good job of it. So that's what I'm going to do, and then I'll know at that stage that the engine, as far as the cam chain and front part goes, is all in good condition, and I won't have to be concerned about that for a long time.